Like Magic Johnson, like you couldn't have like HIV or something like that in play because it's like you're gonna mess up somebody else's life, you know. So it's kind of the same thing. Like Serial Gain is basically like a dude fighting with HIV. Like you don't want him in the cage with anybody, bro. Alex Pereira tweeted very ambiguously, very cryptically. He tweeted 1, 2, 3. Does it stand for 3 different divisions? 3 different bouts? Is it the number of times that Pereira beat Adesanya? Is it the amount of times that Pereira said Chama in the last 1.5 seconds? Is this the number of times that Dana White lied under oath? Is it the number of surgeries that Tomas Aspinall has had on his eyes? Is the 1, 2, 3 a head start maybe that Pereira gave to Nina Drama before he runs after her for the tickle fight? Is it how many chances he gave Tracy Cortez to stop being annoying? The general consensus at the moment is people seem to think that he's talking about 3 different, well, I guess they're the same thing, 3 different divisions and 3 different bouts. But here's the thing. What division is he talking about? Now, I know it's the easy, lazy answer to say he's thinking about going to heavyweight. But I was asking people in the live stream, in the chat, I was saying he's either going to go to heavyweight or he's going to go to welterweight. And people are saying, frankly, it was a little bit disrespectful. People were saying, what if he tried to go to welterweight? That dude's gonna have to chop off a leg. And I thought that was very insensitive and insulting to Zion Clark, because I'm saying, hey, if that fool's willing to do it for karate combat, you don't think Pereira would take off a leg for legacy to be a 3 division world champion? And it's not even just about legacy at this point. It's crazy because at that point, we have Pereira taking out both Israel and Islam. That ain't even just about legacy anymore. That's religious. But I'll give those people the benefit of the doubt because most likely, Pereira's probably not going to chop off a leg. And, you know, I'm recording this video now after the fact. I already saw the results from the karate combat with Zion Clark. That fool went into the fight with no legs. He probably should have went into the fight with no neck. So I was watching a video earlier with Josh Thompson, and he was going on about all this information, this insider information that he had about Tomas Aspinall. And apparently what he was referring to was he read a tweet from like a parody channel. And he was going on and on about how the UFC was trying to put pressure on Tomas Aspinall to vacate the title. He said, "Chale, if you want me to vacate, you're gonna have to let me go." Then everybody starts coming out, clowning him, saying that wasn't even real, fool. That was a fake account. However, I feel like it's common sense at this point that, and especially because some of the tone and behavior that we've seen from Dana White, from the UFC, it doesn't seem like I mean, think about all the stuff that Jon Jones has done. All the things that he's done to cast a bad light on himself, on the UFC. It still seems like Dana White and the UFC love and adore Jon Jones more than Tomas Aspinall. So I don't think it's the craziest thing to assume that the UFC is getting to a point, even now, even if it's not, you know, even if they could say, hey, this ain't Tomas Aspinall's fault, this was Gain's fault. Even with that, hearing the news of, wait a minute, he's going to sit out most likely another year? Yeah, we probably do have to move on. We probably do have to make him vacate. And I don't think it's the craziest thing to assume that Tomas would push back and say, nah, just let me go then, bro. Or put up a fight and say no and don't let me go. Why did you give Jon Jones the benefit of the doubt when he kept running? He wasn't even injured. I'm actually injured. But look, whatever they do with Aspinall, whether they're going to consider it an interim title or an undisputed title, at that point, it looks like people are saying it would be Pereira and Serial Gain, which I think is crazy. You got this dude that has the potential to make history and be the first 3 division world champion. Why would you give him to this wood chipper? Why would you give him to this dude? It's kind of like when you're sparring like someone that just started sparring yesterday and they don't know and they don't care about and have no concept of understanding, you know, take care of your partner, be a good sparring partner, don't hurt any, and this dude's like going for the trachea. Like, why would they give this, you know, most likely currently the face of UFC. Why would they give them to Cyril Gane? He's going to go in there and get his eyes gouged out. And now they lost their star. They need to find like some kind of they need to find like a no holds barred division for Cyril Gane or something like that. Or they're literally jeopardizing their stars every single time they put someone in the cage with this dude. I don't know if it's changed over the years, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but it was kind of like back in the day, like Magic Johnson. Like, you couldn't have like HIV or something like that in play because it's like you're going to mess up somebody else's life. You know, so it's kind of the same thing. Like, Cyril Gane is basically like a dude fighting with HIV. Like, you don't want him in the cage with anybody, bro. And if Dana White, Hunter Campbell, whatever, if they're feeling funny about it, well, Pereira's not even a real heavyweight at the moment. He's just coming up, trying to dip his toe in the water. He hasn't even been here. And then Jon Jones, he's not even on the roster. He's down there with Shaft. We don't even know what we're doing with this dude. I don't want to give him an undisputed. I don't want Tomas Aspinall trying to sue me. I talked about it the other day. I think it was in a stream. Of course, the UFC would be terrified of trying to strip Tomas Aspinall, trying to make him vacate because of him being out, because of what happened in a UFC fight where the referee didn't even handle things the way that they were supposed to. And then Tomas Aspinall's telling Dana White that he's coming out running his mouth and talking a bunch of papa stuff that's not even accurate medically. The UFC trying to strip Tomas Aspinall of his belt right now. He could come back at them legally, like if you try to fire some lady when she's out on maternity leave. It's the same kind of nonsense right there. And they don't want that trouble. So it's like, okay, forget the undisputed. Maybe we finally do for the heavyweight division a BMF title. Maybe Pereira comes up and fights Jon Jones for the BMF title. Then you don't have to worry about the legalities of Tomas Aspinall being upset, Cyril Gane having been up there at the top forever, even though they should probably never give him another shot again, at least if it's not the no-holds-barred one. And then that's a way that they could still have whoever they want to come up and fight for the undisputed, and it doesn't have anything to do with Pereira and Jon Jones. They could have their own thing. But think about it. Why wouldn't you do it for the undisputed? What's the negative there? I think their biggest fear is that Jon Jones is going to come back with his arthritis. He's going to beat Pereira for the undisputed title, and then he's gonna walk away again, and that's gonna be even more of a stain on the heavyweight division. It's like, we finally got a big fight, and now this dude's just walking away, and now they need to figure out how to unify this thing again, and now nobody's undisputed. You can't hold that arthritis thing against Jon Jones right now, because I don't care if he had arthritis in both hips, his knees, his ankles, his earlobes. I don't care if he's got a deviated septum. I don't care if he's got a dead tooth. I don't care if he has ingrown hair. If you take Jon Jones right now and put him up against anyone in that division, because again, look at the division we're talking about right now. Remember, don't start to be all like, oh, I hate Jon Jones, so now I'm going to switch my whole argument. People have been talking about it for months, how the UFC heavyweight division is a joke. Jon Jones, arthritis and all, would run through all of them. You know what would be hilarious? If this whole time that Jon Jones has been training with Gable Stevenson, and I know I reference this all the time, but it's very referenceable. This whole time that he's been working with and training Gable Stevenson, he's been training him wrong. Like that one dude from Kung Pao, and he's been teaching him how to fight the wrong way. So Jon Jones fights Pereira at the White House. He beats him. He wrestles him. He chokes him out. He beats him. He runs through the heavyweight division. He's preparing Gable Stevenson the whole time. He's like, yeah. You're going to come in and you're going to, I'm going to hand over the keys to you. And then at the last second, he's like, chale, it gets all weird like on Rocky V. And the teacher ends up fighting the student. And then Jon Jones fights Gable Stevenson. Turns out Gable Stevenson learned everything wrong. And then Jon Jones beats him. That would be funny.